Three, two, one, back in the room. What's happening, people? Welcome to yet another episode of An Idiot's Guide to Happiness. And today I am joined by a great individual that I've known for many, many years. We went to school together. We've grown up together. We even live together. Oh my gosh, the love is strong. I've got a wonderful gentleman who has had all kinds of interesting life experiences and has lots of interesting insight and knowledge that he has gained along the years. And I really want to try and delve into the life and times of the one, the only, Mr. John Inch. Woo! Johnny. So welcome aboard, Mr. Inch.
Thank you for having me. And you forgot to say that we might die together.
We might possibly die together. We've lived together.
Things are going.
We may even die together the way this pandemic is going, as well as other situations in life. So, welcome back, I should say, because you did join me for the inaugural recordings of this podcast, alongside Mr. Vernon Hunt and his brother Dylan, and the unmissable and the irrefutable Mr. Willow Whisper, aka Daniel.
Definitely.
So, but this time we're delving a bit more in depth and doing some one-to-ones, and I'd like to get your perspective on happiness and your journey in life, and where you currently reside in the realm of happiness. Are you happy? Are you unhappy? And any advice that you might be able to provide the listeners out there for how to improve happiness in their lives despite the adversity that you may have faced over the years. So, opening question is going to be, where are you at this moment in time? Are you in a happy place or an unhappy place mentally? You can always say next question.
I will, but I feel I need to give some answer.
Beautiful.
Happiness. At the moment, got to be honest, happiness, no, not me, not right now.
Okay, that's fair.
Having said that, I definitely feel like I'm in a position where, should happiness come along, I will be able to seize it.
Okay.
A lot's happened throughout my life.
Indeed.
A lot's happened this year.
Indeed.
And I think for a lot of people, including myself, it's given a lot of time to think about things and just reassess where we're at, what's important, and where do we go from here.
Okay, so based on that opening episode that I did with you and the rest of the group, where I proposed that 2020 is the best year ever, so it seems like you've had a bit more time to reflect on that kind of exclamation. So now that you've had a bit more time to be able to think about some, that kind of question or that kind of statement, do you feel like 2020 is potentially the best year ever in terms of the global impact it will have, and how a lot of people might be able to change or reassess where they, the direction they've been heading into, and whether they want to keep going in that direction or change?
I just think we just don't know, do we?
That's fair.
I think a lot of people were unhappy before this all happened, and I think a lot of more people are unhappy now that it's happening. Where do we go from here? I don't know. We'll have to see. I do think it does give everyone a chance to reassess. Whether they will or not, I don't know. It's interesting for me because I kind of went on my own little journey before all this happened, where I'd been going on a certain trajectory. It changed. And then I had to, things changed and I had to reevaluate what was going on. So I actually intended to start 2020 with a real I don't know what I'm going to do, but some changes need to happen. I'm going to do this. I'm going to seize it. Didn't really know how, which is not a good start for that type of
that kind of thinking.
I've learned from life and a lot of things that you do need to have clear aims, clear goals, no matter how weird or obscure they are. You can't just think it's going to happen. And that being said, of course, it didn't take long for this year to completely get away from everyone. I don't think we've ever had a situation where basically the ball's just been taken out of the court, and you really have had no choice but to evaluate everything. And I think that's allowing everyone to see exactly where they're at. emotionally, spiritually, work-wise, career-wise, family-wise. I'm probably slightly unusual in that I really didn't want this break, and this is what it has been for a lot of people, because I'd already felt time had been wasted. But that being said, it's happened, and it's allowed me to take another step back as well and take some pressure off and see where we go from here. But it's also raised a lot of questions.
So as I mentioned, we've grown up together. We went to school together and so on. So let's go a bit further back in the journey. And we both went to Pimlico School, which in fact some famous people have gone to. The main individual that springs to my mind is Mr. Asher D, aka Ashley Walters of So Solid Crew fame. And there's been a couple of other people who've done some, I'm sure more than a couple, but anyway, who have made some successes in life and stuff like that, as well as others who weren't famous or celebrities, but I'm sure who've gained successes and so on and so forth. But how was that experience anyway? The school that we went to, like how was that journey, that part of your journey for you? Like, what was the school experience like? Was it a happy one now that you look back, or do you feel like there was just a lot of crazy stuff that happened or crazy situations that happened that kind of altered your mentality as you grew?
I think for secondary school, it was a bit of a weird one for me because I lost a lot of confidence there. Sort of confidence I didn't know I had going through primary school. And into the early stages of secondary school, I still had it. But it did go, and I will attribute a lot of that to my size. I'm a tiny person, as you know.
Well,
I'm 6'1".
You're sleep.
Yeah, Street Fighter character. But I wasn't back then. And I went from a very it's hard to explain. It's a very controlled environment in primary school, right? Where I desperately wanted to fight and like trouble to happen and incidents. And then I went, and it didn't happen. And the minute it did, it was a big deal, and it was exciting. And you knew you could get a few punches in, and then control is brought back. That was my experience of primary school. Despite the characters that were in it, and there were some characters. And then I went to this place where there was no control, and I was told this was a better place. This is where you start getting serious about work and study, and life begins to get serious, especially towards the end of it. And I just thought, what the hell is this? And I think we all agree, right? It's just, there was no uniform in Pimlico.
We had no uniform. That was an interesting experience.
So the first time I saw a bunch of men, and they looked like men to me, walk into the school and beat a child senseless, I knew, like, okay, this is a bit different to what I'd been taught, and I'm just told to get on with homework and stuff. I'm like, hold on, there's another thing that is coming in here. You need to be able to survive. And I think it was just years and years of headless chickens amongst me and friends. I sort of lost interest in my interests and just went into this coast mode for years. So I became like a nobody, not bullied, but just had no impact. And I think that's one of the worst places to be. And I'll talk about that a lot because I've had that feeling again at other points in life. But it's from that memory that I remember it most clearly. And it's this idea that you aren't making any impact and no one really knows who you are. It's an assault on the ego. So that was an experience I had quite far through Pimlico. I'd say from the second year right through to when we were doing our exams. And the exams started to wipe that out because suddenly a new thing came into play, which was who has studied, who is going to go on and be able to take the next
who's going to move forward,
yeah,
who might have to retake, who might have to
and that was a relief for me because I wasn't popular. I mean, I was popular in my group, but not beyond that. So people were starting to go to parties and stuff. I was really not linked to that at all, but in my mind I wanted to be. I really wanted to be that, but I didn't know how to take that step. So I would be difficult with some people to try and show off. Just nothing really worked. But I knew I had potential. But a lot of other things were happening. Like a lot of us have experienced this. You get robbed and stuff a lot, held up at knife point. in the local area around the school. There was very little control. It's not a bad school, but there seemed to be a hell of a lot of robbery and crime going on, and everyone who's become a victim of that, it definitely changes their demeanour. And when you feel helpless. But yeah, we did our exams, and then the summer holiday rolled around, and things changed a little bit.
Okay, things changed. Was there a particular moment, or was
I got stabbed in the head.
I see.
And
I'm saying that as if I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've told him before.
I'm aware. Yeah.
So yeah, that changed things. That was on a hot summer's night. Just walking through central London late at night. Because I started to venture out with friends. We started to like go out to clubs and bars, but very mildly, just dipping my toe in. And very quickly, on one of my first nights walking home, at 2 a.m, just got jumped. I think my friend had an early mobile phone, so I don't know. I got into my head that they're not taking his phone. And I just remember pushing someone. I was like, "What are you doing? Pushing? There's 15 people. What? Don't shove one over." And he just slipped. So I was like, I knew there was going to be a problem. And next thing I know, I was chopped. I was attacked. But in that moment, I summoned strength to just find a way through the kicks and punches. I think there were so many coming at me that nothing was landing properly. But something had cut my head open. And I ran out in front of a bus. And I remember this very vividly because the bus had to sway to get out of my way. So the blood was coming into my eyes. And the bus, the sound, the horn, and I didn't know what was happening. But I just remember this thing was going to hit me. And then I got this sense of euphoria for a split second as I ran across the road, laughing at the gang who hadn't managed to trap me and beat me on the floor.
Interesting.
And then a minute later, I was like, what the hell is this? And half the skin was hanging off my head. And I spent the night in hospital getting patched up. And I spent the next few days like very wary.
A bit traumatized, maybe?
Yeah, just didn't. If certain people looked like, because I remember the faces of a couple of these people. I don't know who they are, but if certain people looked like them or reminded me of them, I'd like clam up a bit. But when you're young and robust, you kind of just expect it. In inner city, it wasn't a surprise to me that this had happened. What was a surprise is the attitude I decided to adopt when I returned back to that school.
So this happened in the summer break after the GCSE exams.
That's right.
And then you came back in sixth form in September.
For sixth form.
Okay, and obviously this situation had changed you to the kind of character or personality you might have been before that summer holiday, and then when you came back in sixth form, you kind of had a new perspective, perhaps.
A lot of the blocks that had been in my mind vanished. Okay. I really did tell myself, it doesn't really matter what happens now, because you could have just died on that night. I really did think that. I didn't care much about myself. I was very keen. I liked my friends, but I was very keen to expand the circle and just meet new people and people who do different things. And circumstances just seemed to present that very quickly. Like the first day, I just joined in a football game with another group. I think yourself was there.
I believe so.
Something happened. Meant I went around the school attacking people. I was accused of something I didn't do.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
and I went around.
Yeah.
Hunting down everyone, including one of your
find out who started
previous
the rumor.
guests.
Yeah.
And so this was bead behaviour, but for me it was exhilarating because I was walking around and the new people that started at the school, and they were like, "Who's this guy, John? This madman that's going around?" I was like, "They're talking about me. That's hilarious. You know who I was a few months ago?" I was like, "I like this character, but I'm not a moron." And I was like, well, that's not actually who I want to be. But the fact is, it had built up the confidence for me to finally start being myself. And from there came a very happy period of my life at school. For 1 year, not for long, for 1 year, but it was I think our whole group bonded. That's why we're still friends today.
Indeed.
Because of what happened in that year.
Indeed.
And we had a lot of fun.
One thing that definitely has brought happiness into my life is the group that we crew, shall I say, that we formed that year, which we called ourselves the Joke Crew, because we were all about trying to be positive in life despite whatever negativities that all of us as individuals might have been facing or might have been going through or have experienced. And we certainly wanted to take that negativity and turn it into a positive. And we had a certain mentality and outlook and perspective of that we were going to make the world a better place, but we were also going to do it in a way where we didn't take any nonsense. No one was going to make us feel bad about ourselves as individuals or anything like that. We were going to really get in touch with our creative soul and really have an impact on the world. We literally did talk about global domination at the age of 16, 17.
I've never known it more effective than when we had 20, 30 people on a New Year's Eve. And we said, let's go out and fight other crews.
That was certainly
and
the
some
mentality.
People were tooled up. And we went out and...
Can I just say, obviously, we now know that some of that was stupid, getting tooled up and stuff.
Yeah. And I'm talking about Stanley knives.
Yes, yes. And
we're
not encouraging. Yeah. We're not encouraging this.
Swiss Army.
As a reference to someone.
I do remember that all we did was help a shopkeeper run his business.
Indeed.
From a big group that was hassling him.
Yep. And
lift prams over gates when the crowd got crushed watching the firework display.
Indeed.
And we were very happy doing
it.
And that's when I knew we really are living by our name. The Joke Crew.
We were like the London version of the I think they're called the Guardian Angels in LA. And they sort of go around trying to do good stuff for people, but they look quite militant and stuff like that. So anyway, we had our own version of that, but we were the Joke Crew.
Yeah. Excellent ethnic mix. We didn't even think about those things.
Yeah, it was London, isn't it? So it's a mix. Pretty much any school that you go to in London, you can have a very diverse group of people, and you're likely to have a diverse group of friends, which is exactly what we were. But we were quite big on kind of everyone, we were invited, whoever from whatever background, as long as they had the same ethos of wanting to have a positive impact on the world and rid the world of any evil that we came across.
Yeah. I liked how we could kind of blend in with all other groups. We're sort of welcomed by all, and we welcomed all. Mm-hmm. At that age, there's a lot of people.
Yeah, some people get cliquey and stuff like that.
They want certain people around them. But what I liked about us, there isn't much to shout about, but I did like that element about us. Very pure.
Yeah.
And we've tried to keep that throughout our lives. The way we've brought other people into our groups and stuff, I don't think we've never really lost that. It's been more challenged as we've got older, but we've always had a sense of that. And there's not too many groups. There's a few that still have these sort of childhood friends, heading towards 40. But we're doing all right. We've done all right with that. But as I said, that was only
so
1
you
year.
felt like that was your happiest period, or at least in terms of school life, that was your happiest period.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a couple of happy years as a child, and didn't experience it again. I felt very low. I didn't really know what depression was. We didn't have these labels at the time, but I didn't care if I lived or died. Didn't think I was anybody, and didn't think I would become anybody. I did always know you're going to grow up one day and life might be different, but I didn't see how that was going to happen. But yeah, that year, it's funny how quickly it can change. And that was the happiest year up to that point.
Okay. I'll tell you what. Let's come to a quick break, and then we will continue this again. But so far, just to clarify, we went to Pimlico School in the 90s, and yes, it was very rough. There was all sorts of stuff happening. We even had a protest one time over the head teacher at the time, because she had basically unfairly, at least that's what we felt as students, she had unfairly dismissed a very popular teacher there, and we felt like there may have even been some racial bias in that happening, and so on and so forth. So we had a massive protest. We was all in the playground. It was organised by an extraordinary individual who was perhaps ahead of her time in many ways. So we had protests. We was all in playground. ITV News or ITN News came and filmed it and spoke to a couple of us and spoke to the ringleader of this protest, who was what year was that? Was that year 9, year 10?
Year 9, so
I think it was year
13,
9, around the age of 13, 14. So they spoke to the 13 or 14-year-old ringleader called Emma, who was very much a militant activist ahead of her time, vegan and all of that stuff back in the 90s. Who knew it would become so popular? But so that was an interesting experience. There was lots of ups and downs, lots of turmoil and adversity, but in amongst that, we formed a certain bond with certain individuals, like-minded individuals, and we knew we wanted to have a positive impact on the world. So that is part 1 right now of the journey of John Inch, and through the journey of John Inch, you're finding out a little bit of the journey of Banji Ojo as well. And we will pick this up in part 2 of this one-to-one interview. So stay tuned. Make sure, if this is on YouTube, you're listening, make sure you like and subscribe. If it's on Spotify or any other audio streaming platform, give me a like or give me a follow, etc., etc. And tune in next time for An Idiot's Guide to Happiness. Peace.